In 1995, the CIA released thousands of documents about a program that sounds like science fiction. For over 20 years, the United States government paid psychics to spy on the Soviet Union using nothing but their minds. They called it Project Stargate. And according to the declassified files, it worked. But if it worked, why did they shut it down? Welcome to Declassified Truth. I'm your host, and today we're diving into one of the most bizarre intelligence programs in American history, buried in thousands of pages of declassified documents that the CIA hoped you'd never read. During the height of the Cold War, both superpowers were desperate for any advantage. Nuclear weapons, spy satellites, double agents. These were standard tools of espionage. But what if you could see inside enemy facilities without ever leaving a room in California? What if you could describe secret Soviet weapons programs without any technology at all? That's exactly what Project Stargate claimed to do. It started in 1972 when two physicists at Stanford Research Institute, Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ, convinced the CIA to fund experiments in something called remote viewing, the ability to psychically perceive distant locations using only their geographical coordinates. The CIA was skeptical, but they had intelligence reports that the Soviets were already spending millions on psychic research. America couldn't afford to fall behind, so they funded it. $20 million over 2 decades. Here's how remote viewing supposedly worked. You're sitting in a sealed room with no windows. You're given nothing but coordinates, latitude and longitude, to a location somewhere on Earth. You don't know what's there. Sometimes even the people running the test don't know. Your job? Close your eyes. Enter a meditative state and describe what you see at those coordinates. The remote viewers would start with general impressions. I see water. I sense metal. Then, as they went deeper, the details would come. They'd sketch buildings, describe activities. Some even claimed they could read documents. To most CIA officials, this sounded absurd. Pseudoscience, wishful thinking. But then they met Pat Price. Patrick Harold. Price was not what you'd expect from a psychic spy. He was a former police officer from Burbank, California, middle-aged, unremarkable, with no military or intelligence background. He was also a high-ranking Scientologist, which didn't boost his credibility with CIA analysts. But Pat Price had something that made them overlook all of that. He had a gift they couldn't explain. In one early experiment, Price was asked to remote view an unknown location in the United States. He was given only coordinates, no context, no hints. He closed his eyes, went into his trance, and began describing a secret military facility in Virginia. Specific buildings, their layouts, roads connecting them, even people walking around doing classified work. When CIA agents cross-checked his description against classified records, they were stunned. Everything matched perfectly. He'd never been there. He had no security clearance. He shouldn't have known it existed, but he described it with impossible accuracy. The CIA had a problem. If Price could see classified American facilities like this, what could he see in the Soviet Union? They needed to test him properly. So in 1974, they gave him the ultimate challenge. They handed him coordinates to a suspected Soviet nuclear weapons facility at Semipalatinsk in Kazakhstan. One of the USSR's most secret installations, hidden deep in Soviet territory, 25 miles southwest of the Irtysh River. Pat Price was given nothing except those coordinates. No satellite photos, no intelligence briefings, no hints. He sat down, closed his eyes, put on his glasses, his ritual, and then he began to describe what he saw. What happened next is documented in declassified CIA files that sat classified for over 20 years. And what those files reveal is extraordinary. Pat Price's session began like the others. He entered his meditative state and started talking. "I'm lying on my back on top of a building, 2, maybe 3 stories, brick construction." He described the terrain, the layout, the surrounding area. Then something shifted. He said he could move inside the building. What he described next shocked the intelligence community. Workers were constructing something massive inside the facility. A metal sphere, 60 feet in diameter, assembled from curved sections like an orange peel. But there was a problem. The welding wasn't working. The metal was warping from heat. They needed a lower temperature technique. He drew detailed sketches, an 8-wheeled gantry crane, unusual machinery, specific facility layouts. Then he mentioned something odd. Lots of women working there, but only at night. When Price finished, CIA handlers filed his report and did what they always did. They checked it against actual intelligence. They pulled satellite imagery of Semipalatinsk. Everything matched. The gantry crane was exactly as he'd drawn it. 8 wheels, specific configuration, the buildings, the layout, the terrain, all accurate. And the metal sphere satellite photos confirmed workers were building exactly what Price described. But here's what really disturbed analysts. Until Price's session, they hadn't understood what that structure was for. His description gave them context they didn't have. Context that later proved correct. A former CIA official later said of Price's work, "He was extraordinarily accurate, incredibly accurate." Pat Price had proven something was working. The CIA now had their most valuable psychic spy, and that's when everything went wrong. July 1975, just over a year after the Semipalatinsk success. Pat Price died suddenly. Heart attack. He was 57 years old. According to declassified documents, he'd been preparing for another mission, targeting an enemy training facility. Days before the session, he collapsed. Natural causes, the report said. Declining health. But colleagues at Stanford found the timing suspicious. Their star remote viewer dies suddenly, just as he's conducting critical missions? Was it tragic timing? Or something else? We don't know. The documents don't answer that question. What we do know is this. With Price gone, Project Stargate lost its best practitioner. The program continued for 20 more years, but no one ever replicated his success. In 1995, the CIA commissioned an independent review. The conclusion: remote viewing never provided actionable intelligence. The program was terminated and declassified. Project Stargate was officially a failure. But was it really? Here's the problem with the official conclusion. If Project Stargate never worked, why did it run for 23 years? Why did the CIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, and NSA continue funding it through different administrations and budget cuts? $20 million, 2 decades, hundreds of experiments, for something that didn't work? The declassified documents contain dozens of cases where remote viewers provided accurate information, later confirmed by satellites and human intelligence. Pat Price's Semipalatinsk session is just one example. There are many others. Dale Graff, a former project member, expressed bafflement at the failure verdict. From his perspective, the program produced definite successes. His theory? Intelligence officials never took the data seriously enough to act on it. Maybe Project Stargate didn't fail. Maybe no one wanted to admit it worked. Because if it worked, if consciousness can really perceive distant locations without any physical mechanism, that opens disturbing questions. It means we don't understand consciousness. We don't understand human perception. We don't understand reality itself. And if remote viewing worked then, is it still happening now? Are there black budget programs we don't know about? The CIA says the case is closed. The documents say otherwise. Project Stargate remains one of the strangest chapters in intelligence history. The files are public. Thousands of pages challenging what we know about consciousness and reality. Was Pat Price genuinely psychic? Was he tapping into undiscovered science? Or was there another explanation? And why did he die so mysteriously? These questions don't have answers, at least not yet. This is Declassified Truth. Every Tuesday and Friday, we investigate evidence hidden in declassified documents that mainstream media won't touch. If you want to know what they don't want you to know, subscribe and hit the bell. Next Tuesday, 5 conspiracy theories that turned out 100% true, all proven by declassified documents. The truth is in the files. We just have to read them. See you next time.